In 2012, two families left the city. They left most of their worldly possessions behind, along with the conveniences of modern American living. It's today that these two families have relocated themselves in the mountains of the American Ozarks to build for themselves a more sustainable and fulfilling lifestyle.
We are an American Homestead!
This week on An American Homestead, we talk all about compost. The homestead produces a lot of waste products, and we want to use that material in the most efficient manner possible. This episode will give you an inside look on how to create self-sufficiency with waste. Thanks for watching, and be sure to visit us online at anamericanhomestead.com.
When I'm cooking in the kitchen and I have, say I want to make something with an onion or a tomato, anything that you would normally throw away in your garbage disposer if you had one, that goes into a receptacle in my kitchen. And when that gets full, I take it out to a barrel in the yard that is for composting.
Well, these are our composting bins that we made here not too long ago. I saw the picture of them online and just copied what I saw in the picture. Basically, we had the blue drum that everybody's familiar with, and I built a frame for the drum to set in with the casters on either side for the drum to set in. There's a natural ridge in the drum here, so the caster sets in this groove, and that keeps the drum parallel and turning. And then there's another caster over here that just runs free. And then over on this side we had to put a brace to keep the drum from either sliding one way or another when you go to turn the drum. It's important when you make it to use 4 barrel bolts and not just 2. When I first made it, I made 2 of them, and then when the drum gets so heavy with compost, it bends the door, and then all your compost falls out. So it's important to have 4 to keep the drum closed. I put 3 handles on the sides so we can grab a hold and turn it. After a while, it starts getting kind of heavy. The other thing I did is I put baffles inside so the compost doesn't slide inside the drum when you turn it. It hits the baffle and then it causes it to rotate. What I did is I used 2-inch slotted angle that I fastened in there. It's also important to use fender washers so your bolts don't get pulled through the plastic. When we made the frame, we made it basically out of 2x4 construction. We use screws to hold the frame together because it gets a lot of stress when you turn the drum, and nails had a tendency to pull out. It's basically simple cuts with 45-degree angle. Pretty easy to make. We did each of them in about an afternoon, and we've been using them now for about several months.
Part of our waste management program here is to save all of our animal waste products. All the manure, all of the hay that we bring out of their living area, all that stuff goes into a pile, and the reason we do that is because we can reuse that later for gardens and other things. The chicken waste will be saved in a separate pile because it's more of a hotter manure. It takes longer to break down, but it's great to put on fields like grass fields and things that we keep our livestock on for the grass, and so that's a good use for the chicken manure. However, the donkey manure and the sheep manure, that can all be used on the garden, and so we're going to be using that, breaking it down in separate piles, and then applying that manure on the garden to be used for the following year. So we're trying to have a waste management program for all of the manure and the compost and everything that we generate here to be used later on for something else. It's just a good practice and a green practice that we can use to maintain what we have and grow what we have.
Indoor plumbing is definitely something that is a convenience that people always haven't had. But the problem we have run into is that, it requires a lot of water to flush a toilet. So we're not willing to hook up a toilet even though our home came with indoor plumbing. We're not willing to hook up a toilet. So what we have is a bucket set inside a box with a toilet seat, and when we use the restroom, we open our bucket of sawdust and cover it up with sawdust. And I think about having to run out to an outhouse every time you have to use the restroom, and especially in the winter time and at nighttime. I'm so grateful for that bucket inside my house. For our family of 4, one that is shortly to be potty trained, so 3 of us using it right now, soon to be 4. It takes probably about a day or day and a half, depending on the usage of it, to fill up. And then we carry it out and dump it and start with a fresh bucket. And that's what we do, and I think it works pretty good. Yeah, we get asked a lot if it smells. What we do is just cover it liberally with sawdust and make sure that there's a good layer of sawdust down. And there's not really a problem. We have had plenty of guests come into our home over the past year and a half of living with a bucket, and that's all we use is a bucket. And nobody has ever complained about the smell. We've had guests use our bucket. It's pretty easy. It's very user-friendly. They just put sawdust down and you're done. All right, for all you women out there who think what I'm doing is pretty gross, carrying a bucket out and dumping it, this is for all you women. Most of you have probably have kids, right? You've changed a million messy diapers and dealt with a lot of poop from your little ones. Well, this is a lot more sanitary than that. You don't even have to get your hands in it. You just carry the bucket out and dump it. Pretty simple.
So when we first heard about composting toilets, I was very skeptical about all of it. I was like, no, I'm not having this in my home. I'm like, this is going to smell, it's going to stink, people are going to think we're crazy. Why can't we just have a regular toilet? Well, out here, the expense at getting in plumbing or a septic system or connecting to the grid was just astronomical. We looked at maybe doing a septic system. It was very expensive. We looked at doing connecting to the grid, really expensive. And it's just not possible here. And so the Humanure composting toilets was a very good answer to the problem of what are we going to do with our waste. And so I think it's worked out well. I have no complaints with it. I was very skeptical in the beginning, but overall it's worked out very well. It's very self-sustaining. It's very cheap. I don't have to worry about... Folks, if you come to my house, you're never going to have to worry about an overflowing toilet. How many times have we messed with that in our lives? So there is no problems like that. It's very simple, very easy way to get rid of your waste, and I can reuse it. After about 9 months to a year, it breaks down, and I can take that manure, that Humanure, and use it on fruit trees. I have a lot of fruit trees here on the land, and I can use that and disseminate that amongst the fruit trees, and the fruit trees will benefit from it and give much needed energy to them. And so overall, I'm very happy with the Humanure. I was very skeptical, but the composting toilet I think is the way to go. And so we'll probably be doing this for the rest of our lives.
We decided to do composting toilets instead of a septic tank. It's much more affordable, and we can use the composting for our fruit trees. Making the composting toilets was pretty easy for us. Looked at a couple examples on YouTube and made the boxes, cut a hole in it so it fits a 5-gallon bucket, and then put a standard toilet seat on top of it.
The wood chips that we get for our Humanure that we use in the house and outside for other projects, we get from a factory that's not too far away, just a couple towns over. And what they use it for is they make wooden handles, like axe handles or hammer handles or shovel handles. And they had all of these wood chips and sawdust and wood shavings left over. And they allow people to come and get it for free. If they load it in your truck, they charge you $10 for the load because they use the bucket mover to move it into your truck. But $10 for a full truckload of wood chips and wood shavings, I don't think is a bad price to pay. And so we keep that stored down inside of our barn. And in the barn, we go get it every so often when we need to fill up the reservoir that we use up here for our toilets and our Humanure and for other things that we use. We also use these wood chips for our entire garden. All of our garden is covered in these wood chips that we get, 3 to 4 inches tall, that we've put all over our garden to create a good microbial bed for the plants to grow in. And so we use these wood chips all over the property over and over again, and especially for our Humanure that we use right here that you see behind me. So when we started doing our garden this year, one of the things that I tried to put into the soil and just incorporate into the soil for our plants was worm castings. And we ended up buying two I think 25-pound bags of worm castings to help incorporate into the soil when we planted our starts, and when we got our seeds going. After we got our seeds going, we put them inside of the garden with those worm castings. And so, but we had to buy those. So I don't want to have to buy those year after year. I want to be able to create my own. And so to do that, we got a worm farm. And so a friend of ours came, and they have a worm farm, and they were telling us of the success that they had with their worm farm. And I figured, well, if they can do it, we can do it. The only issue is that we don't, again, have electricity. We don't have air-conditioned homes. And these worm factories are built so that you can even put these in your homes and compost your food scraps, and it doesn't smell. You can keep these in your kitchen or in your one of your storage rooms or something. People keep them in their garages, I guess, but the problem is they can't handle extreme temperatures. Above 93 degrees is really the max for a worm, and then 80 degrees is kind of pushing it. And so it's summertime here. We think maybe keeping these on the decks, in a covered deck, is going to give them the ability to continue to thrive in this temperature, and still, as long as it doesn't get too hot in the summertime, I think we'll be okay. But what we do is we keep the worm factory moistened on top. We have newspaper laid on top, and we keep this moistened every so often. We come in here and spray it down, and that gives some water and helps give a cooling effect to the factory for the worms. There's over 2,000 worms in this little factory, and over time, as they begin to break down the compost and the food scraps that we give them, we'll continue to add more and more trays, all the way up to 7 different trays that we'll add to this factory. So right now, if you'll come closer, we'll show you some of the worms in here. Take the lid off, put this down. And you can kind of see the food scraps. There's some bananas in there, eggshells. The one thing they said do not add is citrus fruits. And so if I dig down here, you see there's some of the worms right there. And so they'll continue to work and turn this over and break it down and provide the worm castings that we need for our garden. And it's just a very convenient way to provide healthy nutrients for your soil. One of the things we know we need to keep doing here is continuing to build up our soil, build up our garden. The pH on our soil is very low. It's mostly a clay base that we have in the soil around here. And so adding things like these worm castings and the compost that you've seen in other videos and the manures and all of that will help build up the nutrients in the soil and increase the microbial activity that's really going to help our plants grow and provide us a food source. It is hot today. Let's go show you how we cool off. So this is what we do at an American homestead when we want to cool off and refresh ourselves from the midsummer heat. It's easy, it's cheap, it's nearby, it's just a couple miles down the road, and so a lot of fun. The kids always love coming out here.